Hey guys, Charter here. Now, I generally, when it comes to most weapons, I think everyone can agree that I'm very black and white with the weapons. So, for example, if a weapon I don't like at all, so for example, something like the Car 98K with the GDP launcher, I will bash it, and cause most of these are pretty terrible weapons to begin with. I mean, there's some exceptions to that rule, but what about weapons that, don't really fall into the category of, I mean, yeah, they're terrible, but I like using them. That's what this video is going to be about. Basically, I'm going to be looking at what I think are some of the weapons I just enjoy using. It, whether it be because they are, even if they're terrible. So these are just some terrible weapons that I just enjoy using. So I'm going to make this top 5 because really I could only think of 5. I am going to have one honourable mention though, which I'm going to start with at the beginning, and then I'm going to work my way down to number 1. Anyways, let's start with the honourable mention, and let's go. Coming in for the quick honourable mention is a Moscow weapon. It is actually the Gavir 3340. Now, the Gavir 3340 is, of course, the starter rifle, and usually I don't mind starter rifles. The only two I kind of hate, well, there's 3 I really do not like. The Springfield, the Mosin in Moscow, and the Kriegsmedal in Berlin. Now, the Gavir 3340, it's bad. I would rather take the VZ. Like, you can see here, I actually buy VZs over the Gavir 33, but I still use the Gavir 33, even though I've got access to a lot of other weapons, which I prefer, like the Car 98K, the VZ, and that's about it, really. You can see here, I've still got an occasional Gavir 33 scattered in between my squads. And the reason is, it's bad, yes, but it's fun to use, okay? It's fun to use, it's okay. It's okay at what it does, but it wasn't top 5 material. It's a fun weapon, I like using it, but it wasn't top 5, bad weapons that I really love, because it's just okay. Anyways, let's go on to the actual list. Coming in at number 5 is an infantry weapon in Normandy. It is the Maz 36. Now, the Maz 36, there's a lot to hate about this thing. First off, let's hear it. It's a weapon that you have to spend a silver order on, and it doesn't give much advantage over the Car 98K. Yes, it has reduced damage over the Car 98K and the Mannlicher. Yes, it's French. But honestly, it's actually not too bad to fire. It's apparently got the worst rate of fire, but it feels pretty good at close range. It's decent at close range, it's got an equipped bayonet, so it's automatically better than the Mannlicher. And honestly, it's not bad. Now, obviously, I will say that this thing obviously, I am going to make a video on this, about weapons on this later, but yeah, it's fun to use. We'll say that. Even if it is god-awful. And even worse, it's French. Anyways, let's move on to number 4. For number 4, we're sticking with Normandy. Actually, it's kind of a toss-up between 2 weapons at the moment. One in Normandy and one in Tunisia, both for the Axis. It's the Breda M1918 and the OVP, because they're essentially the same weapon. Now, I think what I like about this is it's not the best SMG. In fact, I would argue it's the second worst behind the FNAB. Only the FNAB's really worse than this, but it's not bad. And generally it's a lot of fun to use. I've cross-mapped people with these things because they're just fun to use. Now, I do know the fire rate is absurd and the magazine size is god-awful. I mean, that thing, 1,000 rounds a minute in a 25 magazine, is asking for trouble. But when you can just whip this thing out and you can just spray the enemies at close range. I think Utini actually has it so that he has the secondary slots, and he'll have a standard SMG or an MP43, and then he'll just have the 1918 for close range. And honestly, I think that's actually quite fun. I was actually commenting, I said that is actually kind of interesting to use. Now, yes, I will say that the MP43, the Beretta Model 38, the MP35, the ZK383, the MP40, and the MP34 all beat this in pretty much every regard. But it's fun to use. Like, honestly, if you haven't given this a try yet, give it a go, and you've got it unlocked, just give it a go. It won't be a it won't be like an MP40, it won't be an MP34, that you can use in any situation. But when you get those perfect situations to use this, oh dear god, it's fun. This is probably actually the best tanker weapon, actually, now that I think of it. Anyways, let's move on to number 3. For number 3, we're back at Moscow again, after the honourable mention, and it's the Panzerbushel 38. Now, honestly, the problem with this is it's really bad. Anti-tank rifles in this game are quite bad. They're either really inaccurate or they don't really cause much damage. This thing, though, I just love. I will say one thing. This thing is quite bad, okay? It's not good, and I would rather be using a bolt action over it, but it is funny to use. And if we're being honest, with a lot of skill, which I've got with these things, you can turn these things into infantry shredders. Like, I once got like a 7-man kill streak just back to back to back to back with the Bushel. Oh god, that was a fun game. It's one of those games you wish you were recording, but you just weren't. Now, I will say, this thing sucks for pretty much... I mean, look at this. 30 armor piercing compared to pretty much this thing, which has like 90. Yeah, it's bad. I mean, the same goes with the 39. The 39 is basically the exact same, other than 20 rounds, other than 10 over 10. But these things are fun to use. Okay, I like using anti-tank rifles. They're fun to use. They're meme. They're meme worthy. Anyways, let's go on to number 2. Coming in at number 2 is a weapon that is in pretty much half the campaigns. It's in 3 campaigns. It's in Moscow, Berlin, and Stalingrad. Everyone knows what it is. It's the Nagant. I'm sorry. I know this thing is probably the 3rd worst pistol in the game behind its suppressed Virgin and the Wellrod. I know that. I know it's a terrible weapon. I know it's got the most arse rate of fire, the most arse reload, and it's one of the worst pistols I've ever used in any video game. This thing sucks just to the extreme. But for some reason, when you use it, it's fucking hilarious and it's so much fun to use. Honestly, I like the Nagant just because it's fun to use. It's god awful. I will make a video on why it's awful. But my god, it's funny to use. And it's fun to use as well, which is what this video is all about. Terrible weapons that are fun to use. Anyways, let's move on to number 1, which I'm pretty sure will come at no surprise to anyone. You knew this was number 1. It's the Breda. It's a shame you can't get this anymore because this rifle is hilarious. If you don't know what this is, it's a single shot rifle in Moscow. I'm just saying, I love using this thing. It is funny as hell. Now, you can't get this anymore because the gold order stopped, because they are cleaning out gold orders now. But for the people who do have it, I think we can all agree it's one of the funniest weapons to use. And it's one of the most fun weapons to use. You just fire this thing, put a hole in someone, and just laugh. I like using this thing, and honestly, yeah. It's actually one of my favourite weapons in the game. Now, yes, I know I've made a video on it saying that it's one of the worst weapons in the game. And it is one of the worst weapons in the game. But my god, it's fun to use. It is generally one of the funniest weapons, and more to the point, it's just fun to use. Anyways, I'm just going to end this video here. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave your thoughts in the comments, what you guys think. What's your, I would say, guilty pleasure weapon, I think. Weapons that are really bad, but you love using them. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.